Many of you know a bit about the way we train in the Common Sense Self-Defense course, but for those of you who are new, let me give you a brief perspective. Mainstream karate practice involves what some people call the 3 Ks. Kihon, or basics, kata, or solo forms, and kumite, or sparring with a partner. And there are supportive practices like weightlifting, calisthenics, conditioning, and striking practice. Hitting punching pads, heavy bags, all make for a more well-rounded training. We have things in a little different order, though, because our principal interest is in self-defense. So we do things a bit more like people did a few hundred years ago, when karate had not yet developed into a rounded physical art. We practice full power with training implements that can take more than a live partner. For instance, because we only do low kicks, this helps us develop leg-breaking power. Then we turn that power on Mr. Legs here, formerly a tree, who teaches us to aim properly. The Kaketibiki, an old Okinawan tool, is used to learn how to divert attacks. We call it the jack handle. The donut, as we call it, allows us to manipulate resisting arms and strike at the same time. Our two-faced speed bag dummy develops coordination and speed, while its unique arms let us practice blocking quick attacks. This dummy is such a glutton for punishment, we named him Ruffy. And we can practice an entire kata against him, linking air practice with partner practice and striking practice. Even the traditional Makiwara is different. The Wobble Makiwara is used to develop the shocking power in the punches that we use. When you train with this kind of equipment for a while, it's amazing how powerful you are when you apply the moves with a live partner. And where did the idea come from to use such tools? Well, I can tell you that a big inspiration for me came from a man named Lee. And here he is. No, not that Lee. The other man, James Yim Lee. Friend, mentor, and benefactor to Bruce Lee, before Bruce Lee became a household name, James Yim Lee never became famous himself. After his wife died in 1964, he invited college student Bruce Lee and his wife to move from Seattle and live in his house with him in Oakland, California. A second-generation Chinese American, James Yim Lee took a realistic approach to training and fighting and published a book series called Modern Kung Fu Karate in the late 1950s. I was a teenager when I got my hands on this book in the 1960s. And I treasure it to this day. Cheaply bound, mimeographed pages, amateurish hand drawings, and all of it pure gold. Bruce Lee admired his approach, and the two of them operated a school together for a time. It was not very successful. So they moved the training to James's garage. It was there that they began teaching a unique approach to fighting that was soon known as Jeet Kune Do. James also introduced Bruce to many of the regional martial arts teachers like Ed Parker, Wally J., and Ralph Castro. It was Ed Parker, father of American Kempo, who had the Hollywood connections that resulted in Bruce being hired for the Green Hornet TV show, the first step in his show business career. In addition, James convinced Bruce to take up weightlifting, as James had been a champion weightlifter and bodybuilder, so even Bruce Lee's sculpted physique was influenced by James Yim Lee. Bruce moved to Los Angeles in 1966 for the TV show, and James continued teaching a small number of students in his garage, and that garage contained a variety of training equipment like mine. Lee constructed equipment for developing the various skills that he taught. I can tell you that I practiced karate for 50 years before I started training like this, and it has made a huge difference in my effectiveness, even at my age. His day job was as a welder in a shipyard, and this was how he built durable, sometimes hydraulic equipment for developing powerful techniques. Since I am not a welder, I have to put my devices back together every so often. James Yim Lee was known to be a patient and effective instructor. And like many great teachers, he did not make a living from it, but he passed on what he achieved so that others could benefit. Some of his students, like the late Al Novak, became highly regarded teachers themselves. James Yim Lee died in December 1972 from lung cancer, caused by a lifetime of inhaling welding fumes. He was 52. I'm happy to give this acknowledgement to an inspirational man, the lesser-known Lee. Thank you, James Yim Lee.